So, a bunch of people have been doing cool stuff during lockdown, and I have been making sausage. So today, I thought I would show some of that. So I'm going to make some Spanish, what do you call it? Ooh, I love that. So these are pork casings, which is to say they are pig intestines. They come salted. So I'm probably going to need 2 of these. Just plop one in a bowl. Plop number 2 in a bowl. These are super dry and super salty and super crusty. And so you got to soak them in water for like 30-40 minutes to get the salt out, which I'm going to do right now. In the meantime, we are going to make some Spanish chorizo today. Spanish chorizo is different than Mexican chorizo, which is like wet and spicy. Spanish chorizo is dry and smoky. Although plenty of Spaniards do them fresh and throw them on barbecue, which is what I'm going to do with about half of them. But I want to take like 2 or 3 of them down to the basement to dry and cure as an experiment and a good indicator as to whether I have mold in my basement. So I have about 1,255 grams of sausage, which I ground myself because I have a mixer that does that. I was going to do like a little demo on that, but honestly I'm out of pork, so maybe later. And I threw some pork belly in there as well to up the fat ratio, so it's about 25% fat right now. To that I am going to add about 1.7% salt, so it's 22 grams here. About 3 grams of curing salt. This is prawn powder number 2, pink curing salt. The ratio there is about 1 ounce to 25 pounds of meat. 9 grams of smoked paprika, which is delicious. And the recipe called for 3 cloves of garlic, but these look pretty small, so I've got about, I don't know, like 1 million cloves of garlic there. So, oh, I dropped one. Okay, well, I'm going to wash that off before I keep going. Step 2, though, is to mix up the paprika and the garlic in a mortar and pestle, which is going to be fantastic. Give me a second. All right, mortar and pestle achieved. So we are going to take the garlic in there. Actually, let me just start with just the garlic. This is, I don't know what kind of mortar and pestle this is. This is not, this isn't Mexican, but it's definitely also not like a European style. But it is my favorite kind. Got it from my wife because she is awesome. So that doesn't have to be like completely mushy to keep going here. So I'm going to toss in the paprika and both of the salts here because this bowl is going to get scraped. I think if you have like a mortar and pestle that is particularly rough on the bottom, you might want to hold off on the curing salt, which is technically optional. You know, I'm going to dry these in the basement, and it is a reasonably chill environment down there. I'm not real likely to get botulism in an open air environment. But I figure there's no reason not to be just a little bit safe.
Hey, buddy.
Ooh, thanks, Joey. So I don't think, given this amount of garlic, I don't think this is going to like turn into a paste or anything. But first off, this smells amazing. But this is kind of the texture that we're going for here. All the garlic is ground up into tiny pieces. If you can still see some garlic in the resulting sausage, that is a good thing. So next step is to apply this to the meat, which I'm not going to show you because I have a feeling you know how to mix spices into meat if you are watching this, because I don't have a lot of friends that are like complete dopes. Very, very few of them. But I will come back and show you guys the casing because that's cool. But I'm going to make Tracy hold the camera for that because it requires like a lot of hands. Right. So I know I said I wasn't going to show you mixing the spices into the pork, but there are two things that made me change my mind. The first is I don't think you got a very good look at the spice mixture before, so I thought I would bring that out. That looks pretty good. And the other is that I guess I have a method here that doesn't suck. So this is just a Ziploc bag that I have stuffed my 25% ground pork in. It's got a date on it. I was a little afraid that they were going to go so long that I would like lose track and, you know, whatever. I have to rely on the date, and that did not happen. I ended up making breakfast sausage, gochujang sausage, and now this sausage. And I got out of one pork shoulder and two chunks of belly. I got 3 bags this size of pork sausage. So I'm just going to get the air out of there and start working the spice mixture in there. And you can probably just do the whole thing in the bag, and it will eventually work its way through everything. And then I don't have to like dirty a bowl. I don't have to wash. Well, I really will have to wash my hands, but I don't have to wash any extra utensils. And the other good thing is that when you make sausage, you kind of want to emulsify the fat and the protein a little bit. You want it to sort of start binding together, denaturing a little bit. And so working it is going to help accomplish that. I'm putting no binders in here. There's no, you know, milky breadcrumbs or whatever else might hold this together. No egg. So it's just my ability to emulsify meat that is going to hold this together in the long run. So I thought I would show that real quick. So this is what I'm going to use to stuff my sausage. I would go so far as to say that if you don't have a sausage stuffer or a cookie gun, I think you can also get like a sausage gun. There's a couple of different things that you can get to do this job at varying levels of expense. I would say don't stuff sausage. I would say like roll it into balls, squish it into patties, cook it, you're fine. So this is my KitchenAid mixer, and I'm going to show you how to use this stuff real quick because it's a little bit complicated. You got to take this dude out off the front. If you didn't know that comes off, that comes off. This is basically the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. This is the grinder attachment. It'll extrude pasta dough. It'll grind meat, yakety schmackety. So you put the grinder little extruder bit in there, sort of force it in, and attach it up here. It has a little knob to tell you where it goes, and you just tighten it down. I'm not going to use this at this angle. So real quick, let's say for argument's sake that you wanted to grind meat first. I didn't show you that part because I've already ground the meat, but it's pretty easy. You just cut your meat into strips or chunks that are small enough to fit in this hole. And then you shove them in that hole. Well, this is running, obviously. You can almost grind at any speed. I think a medium is good enough. This is like a little 4-pronged knife. It's knifing on both sides, so it doesn't really matter which way you stick it in. And it goes onto a little square bracket here. This is for grinding. And then this is a grinding die. This is my small one, which is what I generally use. If you're grinding something that's like a pain in the butt, you might want to send it through once on large and once on small, but that never happens to me. And then you would slip this, oops, you would slip this doodad on, and that's it. You just grind meat. If you were to forget that knife, as I have done easily a dozen times, then you will feel very bad about your life for a very long time. You'll have meat squirting out the side. You'll be very frustrated, and it will not improve your day. But we need neither of these bits. Yeah, that stands to reason. Okay, well, let's watch those. We need neither of these bits for stuffing dough, but we do need this thing here, which is literally nothing more than a spacer there, and it just locks into place there and makes sure that everything sits in the right direction. But if you don't include it, what happens is this little spiral grindy bit will just sort of move back and forth in there, and it will not extrude your meat. This is my large casing holder. I have a small casing holder, but I have large casing. So it just goes right inside here and tightens on like that. Okay. And probably the most awkward part of this entire thing is this plunger. In theory, you... so first off, the thing that's great about this is that if this little cap on there is either too loose or too tight, you know, you can sort of use it to get it on and off there. But, which is great when your hands are covered in fat. And look here, it says push food right on there, but it lies. There's probably about a good 1/4 inch difference in size here, which is to prevent the creation of a vacuum. But it also means that when you are putting meat that has been ground back in there, it's just going to squirt back up the sides. So you have to either apply a very light pressure, or I have in the past put a couple of layers of aluminum foil on this to create a better vacuum. But it is so messy. I've had my meat in the freezer for about 10 minutes. I don't actually want it to freeze, I just want it to firm up. And you should be able to see here. I put this at a slightly better angle for grinding. Sadly, we're just going to be stuck with this angle. Yeah, that's fine. So you probably can't see this, but these are much softer now. They are much more pliable. And I'm going to try to get a little bit of water into one of the ends. One of the things you do to clean the salt out from the insides of these is you open the end up. Can I do this? Okay. And you sort of... I might have to do this over the sink the first time. But basically you run some water into the casing. There you go, and you can see it'll sort of just keep moving through the casing, creating, there we go. And I imagine this is quite salty when it comes out the other end. For those of you who work in hospitals, please do not tell me whether this is how they run intestines, because I don't know that I want to know the answer to that question. I think I know it. So, but this cleans the salt out of the inside of the casing. So I make sure each casing gets cleaned out a couple of times. So I'm going to go do that real quick. And see, this is problematic. Because these are natural products, that means there's no... A lot of people think this is gross, by the way, and they are demonstrably wrong. This is like where that old phrase, you don't want to see how the sausage is made, comes from. But I assure you, if you have spent your life eating sausage, you have consumed these. It is possible that you have eaten a lot more synthetic casing than this, especially if your sausage comes from, you know, like a McDonald's or something like that. But synthetic casings are still, I would say, outside fast food. You know, if you've ever gotten a real fancy sausage, it has contained intestines, as my children say, because that's how their teachers say it. I think it's adorable. So I'm going to rinse these out and then come back and we're going to go to work. Alright, let's see if we can get one of these casings on here. For the record, I had the pork in the freezer on a tray, because the tray acts as a heat sink and it prevents the meat from damaging if it freezes. It prevents the cell walls from getting too badly damaged. Not that I plan on freezing it all the way. It's just a little firm right now, but good practice to get into, and also keeps the rest of the stuff in my freezer safe. Is this end going to play nice? Hope so. Come here. Okay, get you on there. There you go. Alright, so I don't know if you can see this. Let me try to angle this thing a little bit. But basically, you just pull it on there. You know, those of you with penises, you'll get the reference here. So, this is... If it gives you grief, you can apply like just a little bit of oil or something to the tube. A lot of people do that. It's never happened to me, but first time for everything. Alright. This is boring to watch, so before I upload this for you guys, I might speed this chunk up. In the meantime, what's going on? How you doing? My wife is outside painting, so she is essentially completely in her element. My children are outside playing, which I think benefits both environments, hers and theirs. My dog is outside begging to get in because he can tell that I'm making sausage. I just made a little charcuterie board for them with some of the old sausage that I made and some cheese and salami and stuff, and that no-knead bread that I baked yesterday. There we go. So they are having themselves a good lunch, I hope. I did not manage to make the butter, so you know, room for improvement. Okay, and actually I could probably go a little more, but I'm going to leave it because I want to leave a little bit of room for some air to come out of here, which is going to happen when we start the casings. And then after that, you'll see this happen, but once the meat starts coming out, once the air is all the way out, I'm going to stop, I'm going to tie this off, and then we'll keep going. I don't do the thing where I sort of tie these off as I go, because I am not that good at it. But I hope to be someday. I would like to be that good at it eventually. I'm never going to need this bag again, so let's just open it up so you can see. Okay. It's a good clip to do this at. There's all the air coming out because I have created a little bit of a vacuum up there. You can see it sort of filling itself up. One of the things you want to make sure you have on hand when you do this, there we go, you can see the meat is just starting to come out there. So I'm going to tie this off. Two things you're going to want to have on hand when you do this, and one of them is a lot of paper towels because your hands are going to get gross. It'd be nice if you could sort of wet hand dry hand this, right? Like have a hand for, I don't know, this going to go in? Not the way I wanted, but it will tie. Will this tie? There you go. If you had like a sausage hand, non-sausage hand, that'd probably be ideal. So the first thing you're going to want to have on hand is a heck of a paper towel. And I've completely forgotten what the other thing is. So we're just going to keep going and maybe I'll remember. Oh, bread. That's the other thing you're going to want to have on hand. Doughy, you know, whatever, crappy bread. Not for this, but once you are done, you're going to sort of get to the bottom of this, and you're still going to have, I'd say, almost half a pound of sausage inside this thing. And that's kind of going to be the case no matter what process you use. So what most people do is they'll take a piece of bread, shove it down here, and use it to push all the good stuff back out. And then obviously you stop once you start seeing bread come out. And I've found lately that a light pressure here works best. And I have also lately been making sure that I do not apply too much pressure on this casing, because I have yet to do this without having a blowout at least once. Maybe today will be my lucky day, but obviously odds are not in my favor. Maybe odds be ever in your favor. These are long snousages here. Once I'm done, these will get tied off. So, I think at this point, you have seen the process, right? Meat goes in the top. Apply pressure. Wait for gross noises, because this thing will make some gross noises, like a boot in mud, if you know what I mean. Like wet. What I want to aim for is this tray. By the way, that's where everything is going to lay. Once these are turned into links and all the air holes poked out with a friendly needle, I shall put them on this tray, most of them, all but about 2 of them, maybe 3, if they look good or if I have a lot, and put them to dry in the refrigerator. So, I'm going to pause this so I don't eat up all the memory on my phone and come back when it is more interesting. Alright, I am right at the end of this. Got all my sausage in. And I'm about to close this thing off. I got a piece of bread here. I'll just tear this up into folds so that you can. This is actually the cleanest I have ever managed to be while doing this, so I'm pretty impressed. I'm going to finish the sausage, shove in the bread, and we will go from there. Now that I've said that I stayed super clean, I am expecting everything to explode. Oh, there's my knife. Okay, that was pretty much bottomed out there. So, piece of bread in, number one, piece of bread in, number two, shove that in, and come out. Alright, I am right at the end of this. Got all my sausage in. And I'm about to close this thing off. I got a piece of bread here. I'll just tear this up into folds so that you can... This is actually the cleanest I have ever managed to be while doing this, so I'm pretty impressed. I'm going to finish the sausage, shove in the bread, and we will go from there. Now that I've said that I stayed super clean, I am expecting everything to explode. Oh, there's that nice. That's good. Okay, that has pretty much bottomed out there. So, piece of bread in, number one, piece of bread in, number two, just shove that in and come out. So it stands to reason that the camera died right at the very end of that. But what you missed is you shove the bread in here, give it a squeeze, wait until you start seeing bits of bread come out, which is right where I am here. Then I basically just pulled the rest of the casing off, tied it off. I was wrong. I only went through one casing. So now we've got a sausage down here. And basically, about every, I don't know, hand span or so, I don't need these to be huge sausages. I'm just going to give it a twist. And you can sort of do this any way you like. A lot of people are like super particular about, you know, on this batch you twist in this direction, and on this chunk you twist in the other direction. It can get to be a little bit stupid. Just twist the sausages. Once they have been dried, they will hold, and it will not matter what direction anything was twisted in ever. Ah, my son returns. Hey, buddy. How you doing? Okay then. Good talk. And here I thought this was going smoothly. All right. I don't know if I'm going to cut that out of the final product or not. I guess we'll see how much time I have. If you missed it just now, Joey ran through and knocked my camera over. So that was great. And then this long one is probably what I'm going to hang in the basement here. Any way you look at it, these are getting a night in the fridge to chill out. So what we need now is just a pin. If you lack object permanence, don't worry, I'm still here. This is just like a perfectly normal pin. Let me change this angle. Alright, let's get a better angle on these. So basically, you just go through and anywhere you see any little pockets of air, just give it a poke. They sell tools for this, and as a rule I kind of just put a couple of holes in every sausage, and if you see any air pockets, I don't actually think I got any big ones here. And give this whole thing a flip. Do the same thing on the other side, but again I don't really see any pockets here, which is a good thing. Maybe I'm getting good at this. Okay, and that's it. These go in the fridge just like that at least overnight to let them sort of dry out a little. Once they have dried out a little in the fridge, most of them are ready to eat as is, and that big long one is going to take a trip to the basement, and we are going to see whether I can cure sausage in my basement. That's it. Go make food.